Ah, there it is. What's up, YouTube? What's up, nobody in Facebook land? I gotta stop saying that because I got so used to saying Facebook, and now we're not streaming on Facebook anymore. But what's up, YouTube? What's up, everybody? It's your boy JD, aka Mr. December, and we back with another video. Y'all forgive me for being so behind. The devil is busy, but I promise you, he ain't gonna win. Ain't that right, Val?
That's right.
Shout out to the Alabama church girl who is with us on this evening, y'all. We're trying to do it the best way we can. We got a lot to talk about. Did anybody see the thumbnail? I think somebody must have saw it. I just made it. So we got a lot to talk about, y'all. Val, what do you think about the former president, President Barack Obama? That we're just gonna jump right into it today. No plugs, no promotion, no housekeeping. Let's just jump right on into it. I think that's in order today. So Barack Obama, he's been on the campaign trail for the VP.
Vice President. Yeah.
Yeah, for the VP Kamala Harris, and she hasn't been doing too well with black men, with black male voters, and particularly from the ages of 18 to 35. I think that's the worst demographic. And then it's a little bit better with men 36 and up, a little bit better with black men 36 and up, but not a lot. Not a lot. And Barack Obama, he came on and he was talking to some young black men. And he basically said, listen, you all need to get on the Kamala Harris bandwagon. You know, y'all are gonna mess things up, and you better be glad Michelle isn't here. And you know, I don't think it's anything else other than y'all don't want to be led by a woman. But Val, I don't think that's necessarily the case. I'm going to give my little spiel on it in just a moment, but I wanted to give you the first dibs to say what you thought about that as a black woman. What do you think about that?
Well, I cannot speak for black men, but as a black woman, I will definitely say, and I can't speak for all black women. Valerie has committed that and I've spoken this openly, that I personally am not committed to either party.
Mm-hmm.
I personally will vote my best interest. And as for me and my house, I refuse to vote for someone who has declared they will give full immunity to police officers to shoot, to do whatever they want to do to citizens, whether they're innocent or guilty of anything, without punitive actions. I cannot do it.
Now
I cannot do it.
let me ask you a question. Do you think it's the fact that um, he wants to give full immunity, or do you think it's um, more of the line? So, okay, let me rephrase this. Let me start over. Do you think that that's actually one of his policies, or do you think that that's something that's kind of been taken out of context and misconstrued a little
I think it was taken out of his mouth because I heard him say it.
bit?
So,
Uh-huh.
out of the man's mouth, let every word be established. Okay, so it is established that this is what's on
Hmm.
his mind, and I can't support that whatsoever. And I do not support I do not support the behaviors that I've seen over time either. So I cannot do it. Now, as for my observation of the black male pattern of voting, my first observation is that black males have never had a high voting average. They just haven't. And the demographic that you speak of, I'd really like to know how many of those are actually registered, because my
No, these numbers are coming from
registered
registered,
voters.
registered voters.
So my observation is that a lot of them in that age bracket, in that demographic, don't even register to vote. And if they are, they don't go out to vote. So, and it's been a concern in our community for many, many years. This is not the first year that this discussion has come up. I have observed in the different locations that I have lived, different communities that I've lived in. I'm here in Alabama, so I don't know how things go everywhere. But I know that the different locations that I have lived and different communities that I have lived in, it's always been the Black female that's been the strongest voice out, pushing the voter registration as well as the get out to vote movement. That has not always been the case, but in my 45 years, that's been my observation. So I understood. I just heard Obama's statements today, and I heard the clip over on my favorite, Professor Karen Hunter show. So I may have just heard a snippet of his stance towards and his statements towards the Black males. But with that being stated, I understood what I heard. I understood the motivation behind what he said.
Okay. A lot of Black men took offense to that, and is from what I'm hearing, and I've listened to a lot of reactions to this, and I've been trying to delve in to understand more about. Now it's some that agree with him, but it seems like the overwhelming majority of Black men do not. And I've been trying to delve into it to try to figure out exactly why. And a lot of Black men are angry because they feel like they're not being heard. They feel like they're being overlooked, and it's simply for this reason that you just said. It seems like that the Black women have been the forefront of voter registration, just like you said. But kind of like we talked about last week, a lot of things are targeted more toward women because women are the biggest spenders, right? And I think it's much of the same thing with this political climate that we're seeing too. For the longest, Black men felt like they haven't been heard. They've been slandered for the last 30 years, right? We don't need no man. Black man ain't sugar, honey, iced tea, all of that stuff. And then now Barack Obama comes and talks to Black men like we're children, like we don't have a mind of our own, and like we don't have any good reason to maybe look at voting a different way. Because for the longest, it's just been, oh, we vote Democrat, and that's just the end of it because Democrats are for Black people. But for the longest, it seems like, I'm not saying that it's right or wrong either way, but it seems like that the Democratic Party has not delivered on much of anything for Black people. And that's what a lot of them are saying. And I'm going to pull up my screen and share a portion of this video. I keep clicking the wrong thing. With struggle streaming. Let me share my screen and make sure I'm on the right screen here. And we're just going to talk about it. Bring this here up. All right. Let me know if you can hear.
Men lie, women lie, numbers don't.
And sometimes there's a trend line that I never noticed before and make me go, whoa. This is one of them, all right? This is the Democratic margin among Black men under the age of 45 in presidential elections. You go back to November of 2012, what do you see? You see Obama by 81. Clinton only won him by 63. Then we're all the way down to Biden last time around by 53. A tremendous drop already. And then you take a look at the average of the most recent polls, and Kamala Harris is up by only 41 points. That is about half the margin that Obama won them by back in November of 2012. And this, I think, is, when Barack Obama goes in last week when he was in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, essentially talking to young Black men, he made it seem like it was a Kamala Harris specific problem. This is part of a long-standing trend of young black men moving away from the Democratic Party, and Kamala Harris is just the latest to face that magnitude of younger black men going towards the Republicans.
That was most interesting here is the trend line and where some of the biggest drops happened or already happened in this case. How about black men overall?
How about black men overall? It's part of the same picture. We're looking once again at younger black men. It looks like the worst Democratic performance since 1960, since JFK versus Richard Nixon. It's the same thing among black men overall. Again, part of a similar trend, but here actually the drop off isn't as dramatic, right? Barack Obama won him by 85. Then you see 71 with Clinton, 69. Biden, basically the same thing, holding steady. But here again, very, very weak, only a 54-point margin. Now, again, still winning them by a large margin, but considerably lower than what we're used to, certainly considerably lower what we had during the Obama years. The bottom line is Kamala Harris with younger black men and then black men overall putting in historically weak performance for a Democratic
candidate. Is she getting any relief with black women?
All right. So, we're talking about the trend line, right? And black women, look, she's doing better with black women than she is doing among black men. But here, there isn't a trend line almost until we get to Kamala Harris. So again, this is a black margin among black women. Look, Obama won him by 93, very large margin. Clinton won him by 93, a very large margin. Biden did a little bit worse at 85. But then you look here, and you get a 71-point margin. Now, again, these are large margins. But the bottom line is, when you're talking about the base of the Democratic Party, you would think that Kamala Harris would do very well among black women based upon history. And of course, she would be the first black woman president, but she's actually doing the worst for a Democratic candidate among black women since 1960, if this holds, John.
And again, when you look at the numbers here, whenever you come in, looking at the trends is probably the most important thing.
You got it, my friend.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And no, Mr. Political Weatherman.
So what do y'all think about that? There's clearly a bit of a trend here. And shout out to Antoinette. Thank you so much for joining us. How are you?
Greetings, everyone. I'm good.
Good.
I'm in it to win it. In it to win it.
That is great news. Great news. So you came in at the right time.
Mhm.
I had just started playing the clip, and the Alabama church girl and I have been discussing the clip of Barack Obama that's been going around about him scolding black men, and he said, "Y'all better be glad Michelle ain't here." That's what he said. He said that y'all better be glad Michelle ain't here.
Well, Michelle was there for 8 years.
Yeah, she's gonna tighten y'all up, boy. Y'all better vote. What do y'all think about this? Just kind of there's clearly a trend here, and more so on the downward decline with black men. But when it comes to Kamala Harris, there seems to be a bit of a decline now. What do y'all think about that?
It's a lot deeper than just the surface. Sorry, Val. It's a lot deeper because clearly whatever actors they had doing that clip just now, the dummy said 1960. Clearly, you don't know nothing about the Civil Rights Act. You don't know nothing about the amendments, because clearly black women came in the game when? Legally? Civil Rights Act of 1964. First, we had to allow our black men the right to vote, and then women. But again, remember, per our Constitution, you, Val, myself, due to the color of our skin, guess what? We're still not citizens. Okay?
3/5.
And at that, black men were, hey, Cool Cat, were the first ones to have this privilege. Then from there, white women, not black women, white women. So, if we gonna call a spade, let's do that and have the right information. So he, again, circle back. He said 1960s. It would have been low because they was killing us just to vote. Go back 1900s.
18.
Thank you.
So can I jump in?
Yeah, go ahead, please.
I'm from Eufaula, Alabama. Eufaula is documented history that it had one of the worst voting race wars ever. Beep beep toot toot. Hey wifey.
Hey.
But it had one of the worst voting massacres ever. And at that time, it was Black men. They were the only ones that could go to the polls to vote. And I used to question, because I don't know where, I don't know who I was in my former life, but I came into my family being a pot stirrer. in my church too. So I used to ask these questions and try to figure out, because I'm noticing patterns. My eyes are always noticing the trends. And I noticed that, the men were not as active. And, the history that of the violence that was suffered was what was told to me to explain why, hey, some folks just don't want to do it. I am old enough to remember that back in the 80s, my mother was one of the women in the community that were excited about getting out to vote for Reagan. I remember this. I remember her putting me on the t-shirt, because it was a little raggedy blue t-shirt that said Reagan across of it. And I remember the excitement that other community leaders had around Reagan. But I also remember the disappointment and the letdown from Reagan when they switched over to Democratic Party. Now, this is history that I can stand on and say, I'm standing on business. I'm not beholden to either party. I'm going to vote my interest. So I feel like that trend that they they picked up in the timeline, started at the time that people got excited. We went through Bush's, but then we had Clinton. And remember how everybody got excited about Clinton was the first Black president? Remember the people saying that? I'm old enough to remember that history. I have history that I have gleaned from reading and, history books. But I'm old enough to experience that history where Black communities were saying that Clinton was our first Black president. They got excited about it, and he was a Democrat. And then we go through another Bush, and we get a Barack Obama. Of course, Black men got excited to get out and vote for another Black man. But I think what plays a part in the lack of excitement for people in general right now, because I know how I feel disgusted with the process, I think the lack of excitement for the process in general is all this contention, this us versus them, MAGA versus the rest of the United States. People don't like that. We don't want to fuss and fight if we are supposed to be united states.
Right.
Why do we have to have that type of energy? Because those of us who like peace don't want to deal in that type of contention. So I think that the trend has deeply declined, not just because people don't want to vote for either one of these candidates. I think it has declined because of all the mess and the noise and the aggravation that we have experienced over the past, at least 8 years. I would say since Obama's last term, we've had all this noise in our ear. That's why I stopped back in 2020 watching cable news networks. Because of that. And then I don't want anybody to tell me how to think, because what I think about matters. The battlefield is in the mind. So I don't watch that no more, because I don't want you to tell me how to think. I'm going to observe the news from a platonic eye so that I can make my own purposeful decision. And that's just the way I feel, the part of the reason that there's such a deep decline.
I hear you, and I can get down with that too. And one of the biggest things is that, there's so much information out there, and it's so readily accessible that people more people are doing their research and coming up with, what they think would be best for them on their own, and not just going to the polls and say, okay, well, whoever the Democrat is, that's who I'm gonna vote for, and that's it. You understand what I'm saying? Well, those days are gone, because I was at the grocery store not long ago, and last week I think, and it was a lady at the grocery store. She was at the meat section, and I'm looking, trying to pick out what the best deal would be for what I wanted to do, and that lady said these prices are ungodly, and she looked like she was about to cry. It's rough out here, and I think that part of the biggest problem is, and I know what the arguments are. A lot of people are saying, well, she's already been in office and we already see what that looks like, right? Because it seems like, I could be wrong, but it seems like she didn't do such a good job at being the border czar. It seems like she had a track record of locking up black people for minuscule things. That's what it seems like. I'm not saying this right or wrong, because I'm not really familiar about her time as a DA in California, but I have seen a couple of stories about one in particular about this lady she locked this lady up for her daughter not going to school, and the daughter had a severe case of sickle cell anemia, and she got locked up for truancy, and they lost everything behind that. But it's been multiple stories behind that. I don't think people like that. Again, I'm not that familiar with it, so I don't know. I'm just telling you what other people are saying and what I'm hearing, because I just now started to delve into it, trying to go down this rabbit hole to see what all of the commotion is about. But do y'all think that black men have a right to feel the way that they feel? Or do you think,
Yeah.
or do you think it's kind of trivial and like, okay, well, y'all's points are not really that valid? I mean, I hear
Yeah.
you, but what do y'all think is valid?
I think two things can be
Everybody's
true at the same
feelings are
time.
valid.
Mm.
Go ahead.
Now that is true. That is true. That's one of my favorite sayings lately, because it is true. Two things can be true at the same time. Um,
Absolutely.
and I think that black men are saying that, hey, we want more tangibles for our vote, because we see things going to the other communities. We see things going to the LGBTQ. We see things going to the Asians. We see things going to the women. And y'all, times are too hard. This time, y'all are going to really have to work to earn our vote. And another thing that I think is important to understand and delve into is that a lot of people, men and women, are frustrated because of A, her lack of policy, and B, when people are asking her the tough questions that everybody wants to know, she's not really doing that great of a job of answering the question.
What are you watching? Like
Well,
serious? Okay, because I
I,
don't.
wait.
Okay, let me back up. Let me
I'll
back
pull
up, bro.
something up. Let me pull something up right now.
Okay, while you pull that up, I'm gonna say this because I'm not promoting any party because again, everybody have their own thing. However, comma, what we speak comes into existence. So if we saying, hey, the prices are high, this is what's happening, but we also said research, right? So if we're researching these things, Google, go, or whatever it is not research, y'all. The government papers, all cases, everything else is free for
On the
everybody
situation,
that has
former Ohio.
access to it to read people's histories on policies, what they voted for, what they denied,
Senator
what
Nina.
they stood for their entire career, whether it be Senate, governors, et cetera, because even in Georgia, when looking at Kemp's family, you know, they took
President
on the
Barack
name
Obama, he
Kemp,
was campaigning
but
for you
they
in
were
Pittsburgh.
one of the biggest slave traders from Savannah. So you need to do additional research outside of technology and literally go back to a library because there are books. And the notion has always been said we could keep y'all ignorant if we put it in a book, because that's why they didn't want us to read. How serious is it that you're going to cut off people's ears, arms, eyes, gouge our eyes out if we even touch the book, except for the Bible? So we really need to think about that. And then at that, brother, my next point is, do you believe we would have a better allegiance with our Black men if we saw saw you all out more, just like with Fruit of Islam and everybody being in a type of uniform, not just our Black men, but our Samoan men, our Native men, our Latino men, you know, all of our men of color standing in allegiance to say, hey, enough is enough. Our voices, our concerns matter, because at some point we're supposed to be head of the household, right? So what are your thoughts on that before we go into the
Well,
clip?
it would be good to see, but the problem is that everybody else, every other community stands together. You know, the Muslim community, they've come together, and their men were not satisfied with Kamala Harris for whatever reason, and their women and their whole community fell behind them, and she's doing absolutely terrible amongst Muslim voters in America, especially in Michigan. And they have come out and stood in solidarity and said, "Yeah, she's not getting our vote. We're not rocking with the Democratic Party this time." I think that would be good to see, but um, yeah, it just seems like every other group of people, it seems like they're more viewed as the leaders than Black men are. Because again, because I mean, how long ago was it out? And I wish I had thought about this, but it just popped up in my head. I would have found the clip, and maybe I can find it. But I mean, not long ago, I think I mentioned this last week. Maybe it was when Stacey Abrams was running for governor in
Mm-hmm.
Georgia, and you know, this lady news reporter was on the news saying, "Okay, Black men just need to get in line with Black women and just be quiet and just vote how we're voting." And that's not working for us now. You understand what I'm saying? Like,
Mm-hmm.
more Black men have been asked to do better over the last 30 years. Black men are now doing better, right? Black men are doing better than we've been in a long time, with
Mm-hmm.
wages, with education, all of that, doing much better. But now, when those men are at a certain level and now saying, "Wait a minute, I worked too hard just to go back to much of the same thing. I was living better in 2016 than I am now." And just the length of time that everything skyrocketed. Everybody's talking about inflation. Everybody's talking about inflation.
But they know,
Kamala
you
Harris
do know how that runs though, right, brother?
Right,
But
exactly.
she was the tiebreaker. She was the
No,
tie-breaking vote with that bill that caused the inflation to shoot up.
but who was in office at that time?
That's what I'm saying. They're in office now. And
No.
the bill that Biden put on the table, it was a tie vote in the Congress. She was as the sitting vice president, she was the tie breaking vote on that bill. She voted for that bill, which it's a known fact that made inflation shoot up.
May I say something?
Sure.
I think that right now we're getting into the nuance of the conversation. And when Antoinette asked, why is it that black men will, or when will black men stand with other men of color in solidarity in the voting process? I think that I believe that men in general tend to want to be the king of their own kingdom. And they get into these pissing contests when it comes to standing with another man. No, because I got to be the king. I'm the king. I'm the king over here. And to make sure that you understand that I'm the king of my territory, I'm going to oppose your territory. When we are not paying attention to someone else's conquering the territory at large. I understood what you were asking about standing in solidarity. It's really not about party lines. It's not. It's about participation in the process. And I think that's where we're getting lost in the sauce when it comes to this conversation.
I don't think that's the case.
I think so.
I don't think
so. And
I really don't think that's the case.
I validate my statement by presenting this. If we, I understand exactly what you mean when you state the resounding note from women when Stacey Abrams just get on board. Yeah, that sounds very harsh. But at the same time, you had a process that was already started. You had a process that this wheel has been turning for some time now. And your participation has been lacking. If it wasn't lacking, then they wouldn't have started getting these rap stars and R&B singers to come out and say, rock the vote, and do all these things like the Diddy was Diddy bopping around doing. If they weren't trying to get your attention and grab you into the process. So now that, hey, you get someone else to jar your attention and now you want to get on the process, hey, let's not get into a pissing contest. Let's come now and reason together. But don't tell me, get out the way, I got it, when you hadn't been here. You didn't have it. We have it. Let's talk together and let's come to a place where, hey, this is what we're looking for. This is what has been happening so far. And now let's present this all together. When she says, when will we come together in solidarity? I think that's where we're going wrong, is that we don't want to talk together. We don't want to have the conversations. We don't want to fall in line behind anyone else. We just want it to be our way.
I hear you. But I think, wait a minute. I'm messing up. Y'all, I'm struggle streaming. I'm trying something. There we go. That's how I want it. I think that the fact of the matter is, black men come out and say something, right? Hey, we don't like this because of XYZ. And then we get Barack Obama coming on scolding us. Y'all need to I don't think it's really because of what y'all saying. I think it's just because y'all don't want a woman over y'all. When that's not it at all. Because when she first came out after Biden stepped aside, everybody was excited. Like, yes, like, let's get behind her and let's support her. This is gonna be great. First black woman, let's do it. But then the more time went by, it was like, wait a minute. We want something different than Biden and them. And she did say that she wouldn't do anything much different than Biden. And if that's the case, what is going to be done to fix the economy? What is going to be done about the illegal migrants? What's going to be
I don't
done?
know
And
what.
the fact is that a lot of people, I don't. Again, I'm kind of with Val on this one. I'm not claiming either political party right now. I'm rocking with Jesus. That's what I'm rocking with. Jesus is my vote every time, and that's the only way we're gonna make it. But what's gonna be done about them potentially trying to even replace the black vote?
I don't know what's going to be done about the economy. I don't know.
Well, see, that's a problem.
No, it's not. Let me finish because I let you finish too. I don't know what's going to be done about the immigrants. What I do know is that we have had a president, not a vice president, but a president that came down, like Obama said, the golden escalator, and said that he was going to send them Mexicans back to Mexico because they robbing and you know what else they doing to the women and all these things, and he's going to build a wall and he's going to get Mexico to pay for it. I do know that I went to the border and I was there away from my family for some time, and Mexico ain't paid for no wall. And ain't no wall being built. The wall is American soldiers standing up on guard. That's it. Being torn away from their families. I do know that I also was away from my family for almost a year based off some stuff that came out of that president's mouth. That January 6th stuff was not a surprise. Please understand, because soldiers were already on guard. I do know that much. So whatever happened with the economy at that point, I know, guess what? A lot of money has to be spent for soldiers to be just away from their families. It ain't cheap. It ain't. And it's also not healthy, just based off of someone's ego. So that's what I know. I won't support that again. I will not support that happening again, because it's only going to get worse. Every woman knows, and every man who's ever been cheated on knows that if you let them get away with it the first time and come back home, guess what? They only get more disrespectful.
There it is. Let me have it again.
No, there you have it. Go
there
ahead.
it is. So with the economy, first off, people can't even tell you who their local, city, and state representatives are. That's how you take
Facts.
care of the economy. Not the vice president, not the president, not our DOD, et cetera, et cetera. That's your local and state government. That's why we have representatives and going up the chain. A lot of us need to get back in touch with Schoolhouse Rocks and everything else, so that way you learn the basics of our coverage and where our money comes from, what is stemmed off of how our schools and our neighborhoods look like when stuff starts getting torn down for gentrification and Starbucks and all this other stuff, and we just keep getting pushed out. Now, for the immigrants, hell, if there's immigrants always coming to see the wrong Statue of Liberty and coming through New York and everything else, right? How come we're not hearing about the Melania immigrants? We're only hearing about Mexico. We don't hear nothing about Canada. We don't hear nothing about all the Russian immigrants that come here, all of our Asian immigrants. I don't give a damn, because clearly all of them is in me. So at the end of the day, what I'm tired of hearing is the immigrants from Mexico and now are Haitians. What I do know is that they better stop playing with our Haitian brethren, because if you don't know Nat Turner, if you don't know Mr. Forte, if you don't know your own spiritual history and your foundations, baby,
That's
dogs and
not what.
cats is dogs and cats is the least of your worries, and you damn sure ain't gonna have to worry about no IVFs either.
Yeah,
So I'll
yeah.
leave that. Yeah, listen.
Look, when you're right, you're right. 100%. Now, to the clip that's on the screen. Time is just going by. To the clip that's on the screen. I think I got it queued up. I think I've been struggle streaming all day. But check this out.
University of Pittsburgh, which is my alma mater, and he said some things that really ruffled some feathers in the news. He said, "It makes me think you aren't just feeling the idea of having a woman as a president. You're coming up with other alternatives and other reasons for that. We have not seen the same kind of energy and turnout in all corners of our neighborhoods and community as we saw when I was running." So when you hear those words, I'm sure you were briefed on the situation. A former Ohio State Senator, Nina Turner, she came out on CNN and said, "Why are you, putting Black men up against the wall and pressuring them into something that possibly, they don't want to do, if they want to vote for you or not?" So my question to you is, do you think that what President Obama said was the right thing to say? I'm Justin Carter on ground here in Greenville, North
I thought I had it queued up. I don't.
Carolina, with the vice president.
But okay, so I'll go ahead and I'll give y'all this one for free. I'll go ahead and give you the spoiler. Did y'all see where the logo popped up and the music started playing?
The Shade Room.
Yeah, y'all saw that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, she didn't answer the question. And a lot of people are getting frustrated. I think the reason why we see her getting down in a downward trend is because many people are frustrated that she can't or won't answer the question. I don't know if it's a situation of whether she can or whether she just won't, but she won't answer the questions, and people are getting frustrated with that.
Well, brother, look at
Do
where it's
y'all think
coming
that's?
from.
Do y'all think? Well, now,
No,
to
look
be
at where
fair,
it's coming from, because check
well,
this out. The Shade
to be
Room.
fair,
No,
to be
you have
fair, I
no,
don't get my news from the Shade Room. But
but
this is only one example. She was on
okay,
Oprah. She
and
didn't
that's
answer
fair.
any questions on Oprah.
Okay, but listen, Linda.
I
Oprah,
knew you was about to say
Oprah,
that. I like that.
Oprah's audience. Okay, what are we always supposed to be doing? Paying attention to detail and knowing our audience. Oprah is dedicated to women's heartstrings and yada yada yada. And I'm not saying that the topic that she was talking about was wrong and harsh, but it was, because you were dealing with women, the what is it, the abortion ban and all that other stuff. That's Oprah. Okay, the Shade Room. Shade also is part of Shadow. Okay, what happens when you're on tech support? You get shadow banned. Okay,
You better
Shade Room. Then you have a Black male who, back in our day or whatever, we would call metrosexual, because I do not know what he identifies as, but you could tell it's whatever he wants to be, right? No shade to that. All right. Now, if we go to actual Black men productions, like I always been saying, like get me a Val, Roland Martin. He had an interview with her yesterday and answered everything on point from a Black man's point of view. Black man point of view from a Black male production, not a Shade Room that's supposed to shadow our integrity and information received when dealing with Black men and Black women. Of course, our entertainment is to be divided. We've been showboating since we've been off the boat. So we have to start digging deeper. We have got to take off these rose-colored glasses and stop walking in as damn sheep on not saying her policies and his policies. He don't have policies. He has ideas of policies. If we go to her actual website, each one is literally listed. I need us to do some hooked on phonics because nobody wants to learn Spanish. Nobody want to learn Chinese. Nothing. Everybody want to go to English. But you know what? Like I said before, it's a bastard language, and we need to keep on moving and getting back together.
Can I jump in?
Yes, ma'am.
What I'm hearing is that these clips are triggering to Black men. And I'm similar to what Antoinette is saying. I would love for us to become more emotionally intelligent and less triggered. Because what I'm looking at is that if I got to go through another experience of George Floyd and people marching in the street for months and looting and rioting for months, I'm going to be triggered enough to not go out there because it was women on the front line with their signs and their protests out here trying to protect our Black men. If y'all don't want that, just say that. We don't need y'all women. We got it. We're going to do what we need to do for us. We got it.
Now, I disagree. I disagree with that. I don't think
that's my perspective, and you're welcome to disagree with it, but it's my perspective.
Well, and I can definitely see where you're coming from, and I totally agree with some of the things you're saying, but I just don't think that it's about being triggered. I don't think that it's about not or having Black women to protect us. I think it's more of the fact of Black people haven't really been getting much tangibles for their vote when other groups of people have. I think that has a lot to do with it. I also think that
that's respected. That's respected for a conversation, but that's the point that I'm making is that let us have the conversation. Black men don't keep fighting with the Black women because the Black
but do you think
in the process all along?
But do you think the conversation is being had now because we're back to this divisiveness again with Black men and Black women? You know, Black men against Black women. Hang on just a second. Hang on just a second. We're back to that Black men versus Black women. But when Black men are standing up for something, we're getting fingers shaken at us.
But you do know that is strategic, JD. It didn't just start. When we were back here talking about that KS stuff, we were trying to tell y'all then, stop doing this. He is divisive. Don't listen to him because we need to stand together.
Hang on just a second. Let me jump in here. So it sounds like, and I could be wrong, it sounds like that if Black men disagree with something that Black women are doing, it sounds like Black men should just be quiet and not say anything.
That's not what I said. What I said,
I said that's what it seems like.
That's not what the point that I'm making. The point that I'm making is that is strategic to pit one against the other. I've been sharing this Willie Lynch pamphlet over and over and over again that it is strategic to pit us against each other. That's why we keep saying, don't buy into this pitting against each other. We need to sit down at the table together and come and draw our conclusions together. Not us being divided and one on this side, one that us versus them. It will always destroy us. The Bible says that righteousness exalts a nation, but sin is a reproach to any man. So when are we going to come together, Black people, the ones that look like this and not like this? the black people come together and
No light skins.
be righteous together so that we can be exalted together. That's the point that I'm making. That's what my heart is passionate about.
But somebody has to be the leader, right?
Yes.
And then you know, like Gabrielle said, black people are not a monolith. You got people from over here, you got people from over there, you got people that think this and people that think that. So if let's just say, for instance, if black men are saying, I don't like that. How can I come up with an example? If black men are saying, I don't like that women are listening to this kind of rap music. I don't like that our women are listening to Glorilla and things of that nature. What would be the response from black women then?
It depends on where they come from. Like, go ahead, Val.
I'm sorry. I'm passionate.
No, Booga.
I'm sorry.
You are. And I love it because there's a difference between a rapper and a lyricist. Glorilla actually is a lyricist if you listen to her. That other one that I spoke on last week, I will not.
You talking about Sexy Red?
Yeah, that's disgusting.
Okay, okay. Let's use
JD.
Let's use Sexy Red as an example then.
Can I answer the question that you asked?
Yeah.
What if black men came together and said, we don't want our women listening to the Glorillas? My perspective is, black men, please to get together and shut down all obscene rap lyrics from off the airways. Can y'all come together and pitch a bill to where all obscene? Because it's
no, I agree with that. I agree with that.
Some nasty stuff too.
I agree with that wholeheartedly. Now, how do you think that would go?
Then a lot of people would be like, that. You know what they will put first? Well, these men out here making money. You trying to stop their bag. And that's where, when I say we need to come together in righteousness, are we going to be sellouts or are we going to stand for something? Because
it takes a village, though. It takes a village and community to start giving history.
And this is just me playing devil's advocate here, right? So if black men are saying, hey, no longer are we just gonna vote Democrat and we're gonna do our research and we're gonna vote for what's in the best interest of our families. We're gonna vote for what's in the best interest of my financial situation. Then what happens?
So then let's have a conversation. That's going to be a conversation.
But it seems like we're not having a conversation.
Though, JD. No, it's going to be a conversation because I'm like, okay, if I am your backbone, like I always said, the backbone of man is woman, and we continue to keep you strong. Okay. However, if you're going to present something and say full stop for this, all right, cool. I'm not going to be ignorant to what's on your mind if we're working as a unit. So you need to tell me what policies that you saw between the two. Let's have a discussion on the betterment of our family or our village, and we could go from there. That's not even an argument. That's just let me have the same information that you gathering so that way we could go with the same mind.
And may I add something? Because I have, another culture, a part of my family. And when you start mentioning it's not, like I said, it's not the Republic versus Democrat for me no more. And it's not that for my family either. Because one party in the family, some people in the family are saying, well, we're voting what's best for the financial interest. And then it seems like the feminine energy has said, but if you do that, they're going to deport me. Now, is that in your best financial interest? That your family is now torn up. So what are we going to stand for? Finances? Or the freedom to exist? That's where we have to really make those gut wrenching decisions. Am I gonna put my money before my morals?
Now, I will say this. And I do believe that I could get some people to agree with me on this. The left seems to push the agenda that a lot of more conservative people do not agree with, and that's the LGBTQ community. Um, I think a lot of people will agree with me when I say, I don't particularly care about what you do with your life. That's your business, and you deserve um, all the rights that everybody else have. But whatever you do in your bedroom, keep that over there. It has no place in schools. It has no place getting in these libraries in schools. I think most people can agree with me with that.
Not with this new age, because a lot of the problems, and I'll tell you, experiences from middle school right now, they're more dealing with children coming to school looking like cats, dogs, and identifying as animals and walking around with kitty litter instead of someone's actual sexuality. And if we're
But
talking
see,
about
but who's allowing that though?
the
If
parents,
nobody would say, "Oh, you can identify as whatever you want to identify as," and we got to treat you as such, they wouldn't be doing it.
okay, so then we would be having more downloads, right? Because everybody was escaping in the church where you come as you are, right?
I don't say that again.
I understood you. I heard you loud and clear. Down
Right.
low.
I'm listening.
I say,
So, that's the thing. Just do it. You can live your life how you want to live your life. Okay. No, nobody's saying anything against that.
mhm.
But don't try to push it on somebody else, and don't try to bring it into the schools on kids when kids are so impressionable. Let them get to be adults and figure that out for themselves.
So what would you
So,
tell
There's
Ruby
that
Bridges?
stuff has no place being in schools. This
so,
sexualized stuff that's
What
in
would
these
you
libraries
tell
in
Ruby
school, it has
Bridges?
no right to be there.
Brother, what
so
would you
can I?
tell Ruby Bridges?
About what?
We were at you just said something like that shouldn't be in our schools. Ruby Bridges was considered a something like that shouldn't be in all white schools with segregation. So if we're talking about,
No, I think you miss. I think you're missing me.
I
You
may
what you
I,
know,
saying?
I think you're missing me
I heard you.
because
I'm joking.
Mm-hmm.
when you have books going into our schools with sexual stuff in, whether it be homosexual or heterosexual, it has no right being in the
So
schools.
you telling me buck breaking does not need to be in our schools?
No, it does not. Let it get to a more mature age level.
So what are you going to
No,
tell the children? No. What
drag
are you going
queens
to tell
should
the
not be coming
children
into
that get
school.
essayed that they got to wait until high school and college to talk
No,
about
you
it?
no, you deal with that with a counselor in therapy.
Who has
That,
that though? If they're
that's
not
how
being
that's how
allowed
you,
that without that education
I, I
for triggers.
I really think you're moving the goalposts
Okay, may I
because
jump in?
Go ahead, Matt.
Please.
hang on just a second. If how can you justify
Hmm.
a book being available to elementary school kids describing homosexual relations, any sexual relations for that matter?
They're not. They're not.
There absolutely
Which
are.
They
one?
might
Name
be in
it.
the local library, but they're not in those
Hmm.
schools. They're
Yeah.
not in the schools. But I will say this. I do believe that there needs, just like the church has a separation of church and state, I do believe there needs to be a separation of school and state as well.
Mm-hmm.
I don't agree with promoting Christian values in school. You know why? Because we have this thing in America called freedom of religion. So if we're going to promote Christian values, guess what else is going to be promoted? Anybody else's religious values get to be promoted. And that's something else that I don't think that kids should go to school to be subjugated to. So it should be, first, we need to start teaching in our homes. Remember when back in the day, that's where the education came from, the home and the church, and the kids were homeschooled. We got to get back to that place where we're not depending on the school to teach our kids everything. And then we also got to participate in the school system process as well, so that we have more regulation and say, because a lot of what's happening in schools is happening because ain't no parents down there at them parent teacher conferences. Ain't no parents in the board meetings when the board is voting on what the school curriculum is going to be for the next year. We don't have enough superintendents that have a say-so that's strong enough to say, oh, no. We're not going to ban these books, but we're not going to buy these books either. We don't have that. That's the part that I said, the participation in the process. This stuff don't just happen overnight. And it's not just one person making a decision. And that's why we have to be a fortified union to get into the decision-making processes from all fronts. From all fronts. This is the art of war, y'all.
Now, I agree with you on that. I think homeschool would be the better option.
I did for a couple of years. It's hard, but you can do it. And I did it as a single mama.
There it is.
All right. I got another clip. Let me see. Okay, here we go. I'm gonna bring this up. Y'all forgive me for struggle streaming yet again, but here we are. Okay. Do this.
That Roland Martin interview just proved everything that we've been saying, that I said in my past videos about Black men when it comes to their lack of just comprehension and understanding their place in society. Because they're too busy having oppression Olympics with Black women competing with us, looking at we're the enemy, they fail to realize that you benefit from patriarchy. You do not have more of a struggle being a Black man. You actually have a benefit over Black women because you are a man. Black men do not understand patriarchy and how to use it to their advantage. They're too busy making excuses and complaining. And the thing is, statistics and everything else shows that you benefit more as a Black man than a Black woman. But it doesn't matter how simply people break it down to them. Like, he had to talk to them like they were 5 for them to understand that they absolutely benefit more than Black women. They're just not using the fucking resources and tools given to them. The fact that Magic Johnson and Obama and other like educated Black men had to get on a platform and single y'all out on national television on these public platforms because y'all are out here making us look crazy. The fact that they have to explain to you why a man that wants to give immunity to cops that are killing y'all and y'all voting for him is crazy. That they had to explain to y'all why you shouldn't want that. That people can break down to you why Trump is not a better option for you. But your hate for Black women, your self-hate is so strong that you're willing to put a man in office that wants to make you destitute, that wants to literally not have you exist or have any rights. You complain about police killing you, about how white people treat you in society, and you're giving them the fucking tools to continue to oppress you. What more do y'all want? It's so disappointing. And it also shows that y'all are so poorly educated. Y'all are literally slow. That Roland.
Okay, what do y'all think about that?
Okay, so of course I was making my little notes. I just need homie to shut up. I just needed to shut up. The oppression Olympics is what got me. I might need to use that on other occasions. As far as with the benefits, more economically, opportunities, yes, I can see that because I have seen that, whether in uniform and whether not in the civilian world, blah, blah, blah. The singled out, I don't feel like it when Obama and MJ, whatever, was singling black men out. I don't really think that that's what it was. It was just a call out and see if y'all respond. Okay, because we're only in 20 some days. Now, it's only the fact of complacency. Some are complacent. Everybody, some are comfortable. I had this conversation with a few black women today because they were still up in air on who or if they were going to vote. So our black men are highly educated. Okay. And whether they street smart, book smart, they hella smart regardless. Because at the end of the day, they are our protectors. Now, with voting, again, we would all need to have a conversation if we are going to be benefiting as a collective. I just didn't like her approach. So I don't do it. I'm done. I digress.
But see, the thing about this is, Antoinette, this is just one of many. You understand what I'm saying? And I can see what
Excuses.
I dismiss stuff like this, but
Mm-hmm.
I can see why people would be upset at this. You understand what I'm saying? Because it kind of correlates together, because you're like, this is the reason why Magic Johnson and Barack Obama had to get up and call y'all out.
But
This
where
is
is
what
all
this is.
this when it's not election season? Where is
Thank
all
you.
this
That's the
when it's
part.
not election season?
But
We have had this
this
before.
is a very important election. But
All of them are.
Right.
Jerk. They
since
all are.
you're absolutely right. But since the pandemic, um, men have been coming out and saying more vocally about things that they don't like, about things that need to change, that we would like to see changed in our community. You
Okay,
understand what I'm
move in
saying?
silence. Because the real issue
Why should we
is
have to move in
no,
silence?
but I'm just saying, when we move in silence, if we are a community, if we're united and then we present ourselves on at the ballot and in the voting booths and everything else, then the real issues are getting and taking care of our elders to get to the voting booths safely, not dehydrating, not getting strokes in the line, half of them crying because a majority of them were doing the marches for us to vote and then getting up there to be told that they cannot vote because now all of a sudden they're not registered and stuff. Let's deal with the actual facts of when election seasons come up and then do the work when it's not election season for our black men and women and the communities, whatever, so that way we can get white men for Kamala, LGBT for Kamala, for examples. Then all of the communities could come together and affront
I
and
want
then
to answer.
focus on it. Go ahead, Val. Sorry.
I want to answer the question, why should we move in silence? Because history has taught us that when we move in silence, that it's effective. That whole civil rights movement was happening underground. It did. The Underground Railroad
But
was
we
a
had to communicate with each other, though. That's what I'm
yeah, we
saying.
move it. We communicate with each other, but we don't have to get on podcasts and publicize what we're talking about with each other.
That part.
I think that's what Antoinette
Yes.
was meaning when she said
And I hear you. I hear you. But if had it not been for the pandemic, it just would have been more about women ain't sugar, men ain't sugar honey iced tea, and all that stuff. The same rhetoric that we've been hearing since 1985. You understand what I'm saying?
And I understand
And
that, JD, please understand. I know that y'all are sensitive about that you're now starting to hear that. But do you know that women hadn't been sugar honey iced tea since we came into this existence?
Black women.
And women, period. All women, but especially Black women.
There it is.
We the welfare queens, remember? We the roommates, remember? We baby mamas, remember? So we've been hearing that. I mean, at some point, there has to be some tough skin and say, okay, all of us are not like that. Just like Miss Cotto has been saying, we're not a monolith. So just because you said that about some Black people don't mean that you were talking to me or you were talking about me. But now I'm going to come with you and let's get together and come. Now let us reason together so we can come to a place of agreement.
That part.
Now, I want to listen to a little bit of this guy speak, and then I think I've seen him on Fox News before, but I want to listen to a little bit of this guy speak, and then we're gonna get ready to wrap it up after we get our thoughts on this. Let's listen.
Put y'all down on a regular basis. Now, one of the reasons why it makes sense to how
Literally.
we're poorly educated, listen to this woman. Listen to how these women put y'all down on a regular basis. Now, one of the reasons why it makes it easier for me to make my case is because I'm not one of those type of people and one of those guys that fit any of these narratives, and neither are any of my friends that are very successful, successfully married, and they have employees, and they have women that work for them that also fall under their covering. And they are voting for Trump, and nobody in their sphere is voting for Kamala Harris. We don't care about Roland Martin being a part of the Boule and them trying to get their Divine Nine friends in. We don't care how long Magic Johnson been friends with Kamala Harris. We don't care whether or not Obama, who is a bigger champion for the alphabet community than he ever was for Black people, is telling us what to do. They're talking to us because they need us, and they're trying to enable us to get back on a Democratic plantation that has not worked out for anybody that is my hue since I've been born, and I'm 42 years old. Let me break this down for the people that may not know me. And again, I always like to give credit to the content creator. So you'll see that in the description of the video, a link back to their profile, whether I agree with them or not. And make sure y'all tap into the Patreon. Link is in the description. Also, Teach Henley, 40% off your first order plus 20% off for life. It's a phenomenal product. Thank you, Teach, for continuing to hold us down. And then come and get your tickets to come and see me in person. I'll be in Atlanta on November 2nd and Detroit on December 14th. And then we're going to be touring all next year. All right. But let me break it down and let me qualify myself. I'm not a single baby daddy. I am I'm not even going to get into that. I'm very successful. I've done really well for myself. I show all of my receipts online. I've been successfully married for over 20 years. I don't have any children out of wedlock, so on and so forth. I'm great. All right, cool. So now that we got that part out of the way, I'm not a Dusty, and I think that Roland Martin is absolutely one of the most ignorant people that I've ever seen in my entire life. And he continues to keep y'all on his Democratic plantation because he have a vested interest in it, and that's where the majority of his content is centered around. Because if he ever actually told y'all the truth about how the Democrats absolutely is keeping y'all tied to the party and don't require anything from y'all, then it would cease to exist. His whole platform will explode because then people would be like, you know what? I was stupid for following him in the first place. I actually should give every representative an opportunity. And we don't have to look any further than to see exactly what happened over the last 3.5 years versus what happened over the last 7 years. And when we put that and we take that into consideration, it's a vast difference between the Democrats who have controlled the White House over the last 12 of 16 years versus what we've experienced over the last 3.5 years. It's insane. We had an unprecedented level of peace, growth, opportunity, and all of this immunity stuff. It just shows me how ignorant you are. And you need to do some research because it doesn't absolve police from being responsible for what it is that they do to citizens when they step outside of their normal training. It just makes sure that they're protected when they are within their normal training, and people try to come after the police department so that they don't have their personal assets seized. And so I listen to y'all, and it just shows me how ignorant and how out of purpose y'all are, because you're not supposed to be leading the charge and following behind a motherfucking Roland Martin. You're supposed to be leading the charge and following behind your man and your husband and your father. And we got so many simps that have stepped out of purpose and don't know how to lead properly. And so they think that they can get y'all attention by then aligning with y'all, when in reality, we know that the Democratic Party is nothing but the worst thing for us and always has been. Every single policy, every single thing that they believe in goes against the very conservative values of us even believing in God. Let's not even talk about economic policy. We don't even have to go to immigration, because we already know that you being replaced. And so because y'all don't listen to us and y'all so busy trying to get a woman elected based off of identity politics, and the only thing that you can lean on is that I don't like Trump versus what has she done for you and what would she do differently than she already done within the last 3.5 years? Nothing. And she even admitted it. She openly admitted it, that she would be no different than Biden, and y'all still riding out the wave. Why? Because y'all want to get y'all homegirl elected? Look, I don't hate y'all. I just think that a lot of y'all are voting out of ignorance, and it's being voluntarily ignorant. So it's even worse. You want to be ignorant and you close your eyes off to the truth, and that's not our responsibility. We don't care what you do. We're not trying to chase you. We're not trying to convince you. We ain't even trying to convince you in relationships, let alone what's best for your own household. The only thing that we telling y'all to do is leave us alone and don't try to convince us of anything. If you want to continue to stay over there, then do so. If you want to continue to throw yourself under the bus, then do so. But don't throw ad hominem attacks at us, trying to make it seem like we're less than or we're less educated, when in reality, if you look at every single statistical data point, even if y'all want to talk about education, you're not even the most educated. You're just the most enrolled and the most in debt. And the curriculums that you pick in order to educate yourself to ultimately have to go out into a job arena is one of the things that ties you back to the Democratic Party, because now you got to ask for forgiveness for your student loans that you should have never took out in the first place in order to get your basket weaving degree. We don't believe you. You need more people. It's nothing that you can tell us. You still make less than us. You still the most enrolled. You still the most in debt. You still the ones that's getting evicted the most. You still the ones that have the most repossessions. You still the ones that's having children out of wedlock at an unprecedented rate. And if you live in any of these Democratic strongholds, such as Houston, Chicago, or Atlanta, then y'all the ones that's the most infected with diseases and giving 2-for-1 for STDs. So miss me with the bullshit. You're never gonna get me to follow you, because you got to be a leader before you got to be a leader for somebody to be able to follow you. And all of y'all doing is leading men into the fire, into the furnace. Last time that we followed y'all, it was in the feminism, when y'all was following a bunch of other people that lost control of their households. And how did that work out for you? Update family court law, and then we'll have a conversation. Y'all let me know what y'all think inside of the comments. Again, make sure y'all
Oh, that was a bit harsh. Go ahead, Val. What do you think? That was rough.
That sounds to me like the mindset that made a MAGA become a thing. And maybe, just maybe, that type of mindset is going to have the black version of a MAGA, black male version of a MAGA. That's what it sounds like to me. Sounds like it's the flip side, the other side of the coin of, I don't like the process, so now we are going to become the Mavericks. Y'all remember Sarah Palin saying that?
Mm-hmm.
We're going to be the rebels. And y'all can be dumb sheep if you want to. We're the rebels. Fine. But that's what it sounds like. And I always question. It's okay to have a good debate and have disagreement. But I always question people who launch personal attacks.
That part.
I always question people.
Wait a minute. You mean like what the lady was saying, the attacks that the lady?
Both
like
of them.
both of them.
Like me calling him a coon.
Like both of them. Because she said some things that were direct personal attacks, and he said a lot of things that were direct personal attacks while he got a black woman on his shirt. Come on now. Make it make sense. But
I
and I
checked
also
off.
always question people who have to sell you something to make their argument. So I'm just saying that type of conversation is what I started tuning out for almost 5 years ago, because you are not here for righteousness. You're here for clout, sir. You knew you, with your highly educated and highly successful self and your bit of air of elitism and ego, you knew that what you said out your mouth would spark an emotional response, and you put it out on social media for that clout that you would get from that emotional response. I don't like either one of them. Because can we just stick to the facts at hand?
The facts.
No, because there were a couple. The diseases of the percentage in the United States is more high with geriatrics. And then after that is our white men and white females. Basket weaving.
Wait. Run that back again.
Geriatrics, our senior citizens, they have the highest percentage of diseases because they
Of
always hunching.
STDs?
Yeah, they always hunching in
Oh,
the
wow.
nursing homes. So basket weaving, I mean, we do that every day with our hair. So I am okay with that natural technique, sir, because I could get me a couple of monies with that. Anyway, voluntarily ignorant. Hey, I think some of us are, because again, you don't open the book because you didn't know those first two things. Roland Martin, as a fact, does not claim any party, but he does give additional facts, and he is a fact finder, which is fine, take it or leave it. Now, you will not disrespect the Divine Nine, nor the Masons, nor the Eastern Stars, and I'ma just leave it there, because if you want to meet up, I'll catch you in the streets. Now, with the Democratic Party, we would need to know the background of that, because the Democratic Party was the Republican Party, and the Republican Party was the Democratic Party when all of us was on the plantations and getting it in the house. Okay, so what else was it? However, let's see. To circle back with Roland Martin, with him not claiming any additional party, his family actually has been involved with the importance of volunteering during voting times, and why it is important for us meaning everybody, but mostly us, people of color, to have our registration to vote. So just to be clear, and that's all I got. I don't like none of, look, I'd be like, I don't like none of them hoes, and I ain't got to know you because your energy is nasty.
And see, I kind of wanted to play that, play both, because that's how we're not going to get anywhere.
Exactly.
You understand what I'm saying? You got extremes on both sides, but I totally agree with some of the things you're saying, 100%. But at the end of the day, we got to figure out some kind of way to come together, because right now it's not working. It hadn't been working, and we got to figure out some kind of way to meet in the middle. But y'all, I think that's all we have for today. Oh man, time just flies by when you're having fun, I tell you. And I don't know what the future is going to hold for how we continue to conduct these shows, but we're only going to continue to build on what we have and continue to get better. But y'all, that's all we got for tonight, y'all. I don't care where you are. I don't care what time zone you're in. It's always summertime in NY, y'all. Peace.
It's too smooth. I honestly didn't even really want to say anything on this, but that's what the people want. That's what I came here for. So we'll get into it. I like my coffee black wife too. Don't turn this to no controversy. It's my boo. I could make $250,000 off a haiku, and I could make another quarter off it times 2. If it's money on the table, I'll be on it like Bobby or Epic. You peep the aesthetic, it's hard to forget it. I hear you talking, but you're hardly right. I'm the voice of your prototype. Summertime and then why? Yeah. Summertime and then why? Dry tops out. Summertime and then why? It fits right. Yeah. Summertime and then why? I'm talking 6 a.m. tea times. 18 with the mayor talking land banks. I waited for it, gotta get mine. Snag a seat up at the table if my man came. Heading to a meeting, we're familiar with no briefcase. Just my mind in a free state. I got a plan through a vision, but it takes time. I'ma make mine. Summertime and then what? Yeah. Summertime and then what? You know the drill by now. Summertime and then what? Get everybody together, get the squad. Summertime and then what? Summertime and then what? Started in the back office, now I run the front. Call the shots, make the deals, know the deal, know what's up. Too much for the books, and I put it in a tuck. Too much for the tuck, then I give it to my love. Once I make $1 million, man, $1 million won't be enough. Watch you fake the struggle while I get it off the hush. Now it's JetBlue miles, Rolex dials, frowns turn to smiles. Summertime and then why? Come to an end. Summertime and then why? I want you to bring that energy. See the why? And run that thing back. Yeah. Until next year. Summertime and then why? Summertime and then why? Yeah. Be gone.